Okay. So we did a warm-up and we created an array of voters and we were doing some practice. This was all stuff we learned on Friday. Today, we're actually just learning a new type of for loop. And it's called an enhanced for loop or a for each loop. So look up here. If you just look away, you're going to miss it. It's not very long or hard. Look at the top. This is how we were doing it on Friday. And this morning, I made an int array with a bunch of stuff in it. And here's my for loop. I starts at 0. I is less than nums.length, going up by 1, and we're going to print everything. Great. Here's the same thing with an enhanced for loop. Instead of this longer thing where we create an I variable and we're using indexes to access, here we're just saying, hey, give me all the integers in nums one at a time, put them in this variable x, and I'll print them. So if you're going to just print things, it's easier. Of course, we don't know what index number we're on. Do you know what I'm saying? We're just getting the 5 and the 4 and the whatever one at a time, and we don't know what index it is. But if we only care about the values, then we're good. It's easier than doing. We could add up all the numbers. We could find the average. You could even find the max and the min. You'd have to make a separate count variable and keep track of where you were. But yeah, you wouldn't do that. You would just make a regular for loop. So here it is bigger. That's the line. In the declaration area, if you're working with integers, then you say int and then some temp variable name. It doesn't have to be x. It could be my number or the number or n or whatever. And then you have a colon, and then you have the array. So I'll give you other examples. I wasn't using curly braces here because there was only one line inside the for loop, and that rule is just like it always has been. If you're going to do more than one thing, you have to use curly braces, just like for ifs and whiles and fors. So here it is where I'm adding everything up and printing. So I have two things happening in here. I'm still grabbing every number one at a time. I'm going to print it, and I'm adding it to my sum variable. This would be like if I was asking you to add up all the numbers. Questions? So check it out. If we had a string array, we do the same thing, but instead of saying int x here, we're saying string, because we have to know what's in the array that we're talking about. Remember, arrays can only have one kind of thing. They're either all ints, or they're all doubles, or they're all strings, or they're all frogs, or they're all voters. So right here, if it was a voter array, you'd say voter x colon voter, roster or whatever. Since it's strings in this example, see, lots of times I like to do string C colon colors. I should have done that here, but I'm not going to go change it right now. That way I'm thinking, oh, this is one of my colors, or you could even say color, singular. String color colon colors, meaning I'm grabbing the colors one at a time out of colors and putting them in a variable called color. It's a little touchy when it's just different by an S, but that's why I like to use like a C. Maybe I will fix it. String C. It's a little more like a color than X. It's the same thing. It's just the variable name. You get to choose. Oh, I knew this was going to happen. I was going to have to fix another slide, but so the only difference here is the temp variable has to be declared as a string. You can't do a string array and then say int C here because it's a string. Here's a question for you. Is this type of loop better? I say only if you don't need to change anything. You see, comma, you can't change anything when you're doing this. So you can't go change what's in the array when you're doing this. You just get the thing, you get a copy of the thing in this little temp variable. You don't have it, you can't say, oh, change x equal, like this code doesn't do anything. Really, it takes all the numbers one at a time, throws them into x, and then adds 1 to x, and then throws it away. It doesn't put it back in the array. This would be meaningless. This is bad code. Yes.
So it's like almost similar to like an accessor method.
Yeah, it's like an accessor method. It's read only. It's giving you the number. So if you wanted to find the max and the min and the average, this is perfect. We could redo the coding bat problems with a for each loop. This code is silly because it's adding one to this temp variable, and then the temp variable gets thrown away with the next variable, and it's literally does it. It moves bytes around in the computer memory and does nothing. This is if you want to change, like if I wanted to add one to all the variables in my array, I have to do this. I have to refer to it by its index number, and then do plus plus or. So this code does change all the values to be one higher if that's something I had to do. So that's the new material. What did we learn today? For each loops or enhanced for loops are another way to process the contents of an array. Here's two examples. All I'm doing for processing here is printing them, but for int n in nums, I'm printing them all. Or frog f in pond, I'm printing them all. And it's a great thing to do if you're not changing what's inside the array. You don't have to. I will tell you at times, I want you to do this problem using an enhanced for loop because I want you to practice using that kind of loop. It's actually easier. I mean, once you understand it and you've tried it, I think that's easier than saying int I equals 0, I less than nums.length I plus plus, and then having to go num square bracket I instead of just going, hey, give me all the numbers from nums one at a time, put them into n. Yes.
Can you know by any value other than one at a time? Can you do about 2 at a time?
No. So if you wanted to only look at some of them, you probably just do a regular for loop and go up by 2. Okay. So I have 2 more repos that I'll post. There's day 37 enhanced for loop quick practice, and then there's a little bit longer practice. But this is a sum total of everything we're doing today. And we have a half hour to go. So I'll post these things and